Hello everyone. We are going to summarize the most important factors of the relationship between the Brics countries and their role in the WTO. Nowadays, their importance is crucial, but the best is yet to come. Who are the Brics? BRICS is the acronym for an association of 5 major emerging national economies: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The grouping was originally known as BRIC before the inclusion of South Africa in 2010. The BRICS members are all developing or newly industrialized countries, but they are distinguished by their large, fast-growing economies and significant influence on regional and global affairs. First of all, I'm going to present each one of the countries included in the BRICS, giving some general data about them. Brazil has a population of 200 million people, being the 5th most populated country and representing almost the 3% of the world's population. In the last decade, it has improved its GNI per capita from around $7,000 to nearly $12,000. Its position in the Doing Business ranking is the 116th, and its ADI is 0.73. Russia has a population of around 150 million people, being the 9th most populated country in the world and representing the 2% of the world's population. In the last decade, it has improved its GNI per capita from around $8,000 to almost $23,000. Its position in the Doing Business ranking is the 92nd, and its HDI is 0.78. India has a population of 1.2 billion people, being the 2nd most populated country, and representing around the 17% of the world's population. In the last decade, it has improved its GNI per capita from around $2,500 to nearly $4,000. Its position in the Doing Business ranking is the 134th, and its HDI is 0.55. China has a population of 1.3 billion people, being the most populated country of the world and representing almost 1/5 of the world's population. In the last decade, it has improved its GNI per capita from around $4,000 to $9,000. Its position in the Doing Business ranking is the 96th, and its HDI is 0.69. South Africa has a population of around 50 million people, being the 25th most populated country and representing less than 1% of the world's population. In the last decade, it has improved its GNI per capita from around $9,000 to $11,000. Its position in the Doing Business ranking is the 41st, and its HDI is 0.62.
And now, we are going to introduce the different coalitions made by developing countries from 1995 to the present, and therefore, the evolution of the so-called BRICS in the WTO. During the Geneva Ministerial in 1998, the developing countries started slowly becoming more proactive at the multilateral negotiations. This happened for several reasons, including frustration over the slow pace of multilateral negotiation, persistence of tariff and non-tariff barriers in the developed countries' markets, both in case of goods and services, etc. The developing countries felt that the additional market access granted to developed countries by agreeing to include agriculture and services under WTO was more profitable for the developed countries. On the other hand, defeats in a number of cases at the dispute settlement body involving developed countries as complainant forced developing countries to open up several key sectors. This was perceived by the developing countries as a non-respect of the special and differential treatment they were supposed to receive. Developed countries decided to open new round at Doha, which was supposed to be oriented on development, but it was a big disappointment for developing countries. Several developing countries, led by India, Brazil, South Africa and China, promptly submitted an alternate plan to WTO, demanding immediate removal of export and production subsidies on agriculture in developed countries. This proposal marked the creation of the G20 developing country grouping at the WTO. In 2003, in Cancun, the European Union and the United States came out with a joint draft declaration at the Ministerial, with little promise on lowering agricultural subsidy level within their territories by a specific deadline. Developing countries, led by Brazil and India, rejected the proposition unanimously. The conflict of interest put a deadlock in the multilateral negotiation process launched in Doha. In 2005, during the Hong Kong Ministerial, a major developing country group called G110 was formed. It negotiated for rapid liberalization of market access in industrial products in developed country markets. It has been argued that while India has been able to generate a wide support base to fulfill its objectives through groups like G110 in short run, it is very difficult to do so in long run. In other words, drafting a negotiation agenda suiting all the developing countries and their objectives on agriculture, manufacturing and services would be very difficult, while doing the same by a smaller group of developing countries at a comparable level of development is much easier. The negotiation alliance between India, Brazil, South Africa, China and Russia turned out to be one such option, which could be further cemented through a formal trade bloc as well. With the crisis in 2008, developed countries suffered from a lack of cash, activity weakness, recessions, etc. The Brics countries took profit of this situation as they had faced these headwinds more smoothly. Negotiations in WTO became by far more favorable to developing countries, at least Brics countries, which seems to have a lot to teach to developed countries in terms of growth and stability. In 2012, the Brazilian Roberto Azevedo became the first president of WTO, coming from a BRIC country.